Hi, everyone. Welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, Adelaide Potters, a revisit. Welcome to Bonsai Acres. Welcome everyone up to Bonsai Acres, where we're just outside the shed. We got some wood, we got some mulch. We're going to be busy up here for the next couple of days. But in the meantime, another release from the Expo live just about a week ago, the 9-hour marathon. And part of that marathon was Adelaide Potter, Luke Parsons. Let's check it out.
Mr. Luke Parsons. Luke, thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, David. For those that don't know me, I'm in Adelaide, South Australia, and I run a small business called Adelaide Bonsai Pottery, producing handmade pots like this that I sell around Australia and increasingly overseas with more customers in the US now. I'm also with one of my other hats is president of the South Australian Bonsai Society.
So it's not just all about pottery, I take it, for you.
Trees as much as the pots. I guess it was pretty early on that I realized, I got interested in bonsai when I was young, and it's all about the trees, and very quickly realized, look, this isn't just trees, it's trees and pots. What am I doing just making trees? I've got to make the pots as well.
So you started with the trees.
Yeah, but it wasn't long. I guess that's just how I operate. If I see something, I have to know how it works. I'm not content to just say, yeah, that's a nice pot, that's great. I have to figure out how to do that thing myself.
I would love to get into it as I get closer and closer to retirement from teaching. I've got a couple of friends in my bonsai club who have started to make pots already, and I'm very envious of that. I got so much on my plate, I haven't been able to think about that, but I would love to dive in the future. I think that'd be a fun thing to experiment with. One of the first questions I want to ask you, you're into trees, you're heavy into bonsai, you're making your own pots. What really, if you have a style that you go for, what really got you to start making the pots the way you make your certain style? Was it that you felt there wasn't anything out there that you liked for your trees, or what kind of led you to kind of your current style in bonsai pottery?
So initially, I started making pots that just looked like commercial bonsai pots. So they're geometric shapes and look very much like a pot that you just buy off the shelf in your bonsai nursery.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a few years, I think, to actually start to develop my own style. First you've got to get the technique right of how do I actually build this pot without it falling apart? How do I make it dry without cracking? How do I actually fire it? After a few years of doing that, I've actually started to develop what I think now is my own style, but also quite uniquely Australian as well. So I do a lot of bushwalking, getting around in the bush, and you see in the Australian environment, different colours, burnt colours.
Beautiful.
And that started to filter into my work. So instead of just having standard geometric shape, this has a bit of a burnt edge, which is what you see in the Australian landscape. And so I think I could fairly safely say now that I've actually developed my own style.
I discovered you, of course, with the Discover Potters community with Angela Ramirez, and I had met her a couple years ago with Chris Baker at the Chicago Botanical Gardens, and she's kind of interned there and helped out with the trees. And I really started to pay attention to the Discover Potters community, and I get more hits from that than any other part of my social media. And that's where I discovered you, and I you stuck out to me, and I said, I got to reach out to this guy and see if he'd be a part of this expo that I'm doing, this online event where I want to introduce people to just more people that are crazy about bonsai. And I just loved everything I've seen from your pictures on Facebook, and so I'm excited. If I'm not mistaken, let me see, it's Wednesday here in the States. Did you put my pots in the mail?
Yes, they have been posted. They're on the way. I'll send you the tracking number when we're done here. They're probably I don't know. They might not have left Australia yet, but they're certainly on their way. Yeah, all bubble wrapped up.
Yeah.
They only just fit in like the largest size box I can actually send in the post. My trick for sending pots anywhere is to have the box that they're in way bigger than the size of the pot. So somebody
Yes.
could drop that box or whatever, and
Yeah.
yeah, the wall of the pot would be nowhere near the wall of the box.
I just can't wait to have them and see what I hope to put in them. So I'm super excited
Hmm.
about that. In this journey of just making these pots, you said that it took a little while to find your style, and it's very Australian in your opinion, just kind of what you're seeing out there in nature. Um, what's been what's been your favorite part so far about your pottery journey? What's been the favorite part?
I mean, I enjoy the process. I enjoy making the pots. That's great fun. And every time you open that kiln door, you're never really sure exactly what the result is going to be because sometimes the kiln decides what the
Yeah.
final result is, and sometimes that's bad, sometimes it's really good. So that's yeah, so that's an exciting process. But
Mhm.
I think the most exciting part really is just all of the people involved um, in terms of my customers and that end result of tree and pot. So, I've connected with somebody through the Facebook page or wherever, and they've said, yeah, I like these pots. Look, that's great. Can you make me one? I need it because most things I make are made to order. And
Okay.
so we make this pot, whatever size, shape, and color it needs to be,
Yeah.
send that to whatever part of the world it's going to.
Yeah.
And usually, what happens is, as soon as it's quite exciting, as soon as that person's received that pot in the post, they've got their tree into the new pot, taken a photo of the complete package there of tree and pot.
Hmm.
I then say, look, that looks great. Can I share that? I share that photo on the Facebook page, and everybody says, hooray, that looks fantastic. Seeing people excited with what they've achieved with their tree in
Yeah.
this new pot. Yeah, so it's not, as I often say at the South Australian Bonsai Society when I'm teaching there, or just doing a demonstration or something. Look, it's great that we have all these trees and pots, but if we
Mhm.
don't have all the people there, all of our members, it doesn't work.
That's why I do my YouTube channel. That's why I'm doing this expo. I'm doing this live stream crazy marathon 6 hour expo because I love bringing people together to do exactly what you just said there. It's like if you can see the results of your pot and someone's tree in there, and then share that and people get excited about it, that just keeps the hobby just really moving forward. Do you do more commission work and like, hey, I want this size about this deep? Do you do more of that, or you just make them and hope to sell
Most of it seems to be made to order. I do try and keep stock on the shelves here in the studio because lots of people come to the studio to come and have a look. But yeah, what has happened is that somebody has said, look, yeah, Luke, I like this pot, I like that sort of shape and that color, but I really need one that's about, a wee bit bigger or a wee bit smaller. And I've said, well, sure, I can do that. Yeah, so that seems to be the majority now. It is a little bit of a challenge then because somebody has said, look, I want this thing, exactly this many centimeters or inches long and deep. And yeah, because the pots are shrinking as they're drying and being fired, I have to do a bit of math there, a bit of arithmetic to try and
them?
calculate, yeah, the correct size, and yeah, just making sure that people are actually happy with what they receive. So there's some sort of, I shouldn't really, but there's some sort of anxiety there for me that customers are actually going to be happy with what they receive. And
Yeah.
yeah, 99% of the time that seems to work really well. So yeah, so I'm happy to do those commissions.
Do you ever worry about that becoming too much? I have a small business on the side that I run, my bonsai acres that I'm doing. Is, I have a little trees. I sell soil to the club members and people in Minnesota, and I have trees in the ground, and I'm doing lots of experimenting. It's just a small little business, and I've heard every professional out there say at some time or another, the Ryan Neals of the world, and Andrew Robson has talked about this. A couple of the folks here from the States that are traveling around and doing stuff, and we've had them work in our clubs, and they say this, their bonsai hobby is so secondary to the business, and they're so busy and traveling. And I've said to myself, I never want my little thing to take over my joy for bonsai. So do you worry about that commission work or pottery just taking over, or are you able to balance it pretty well so far?
Yeah, there is that worry that it becomes more of a job, and I don't want it to be that. But
Yeah.
I don't know if this line is used in the States, but certainly here in Australia, people say sarcastically, "Oh yeah, living the dream," like they're trudging through their day-to-day job, and there's this sarcastic, "Oh yeah, I'm living the dream," and I have to sort of remind myself sometimes, look, I think I might actually be doing that. I'm doing what was my hobby,
Yeah.
and yeah, we've definitely crossed over now into
Yeah.
a business. I don't think I could argue to the Australian Tax Office that this is a hobby. It's definitely a business. But yeah, I've still got my family to look after and other things that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to intrude on that. I'm happy with the steady
Yeah.
amount of orders that keep coming in, and yeah, I think I've found that balance.
So kind of a spin-off to that question then too about living the dream and it getting to be maybe too much of a job. Besides that, is there any real tough part about your craft, your art and making these pots? Has there been a real tough moment at all in your journey so far that you can think of?
Only when there's a higher than usual failure rate. So making handmade pottery, there is some failure rate. To say
Yeah.
that every one of the pots that I made was 100% success would be a lie.
Right.
There is always some failure rate. Usually here in Adelaide, where summers are really hot, it's very hot, very dry, and
Mhm.
pots can dry a bit too quickly and unevenly, and sometimes will crack. So there can be pots that I've spent hours hand building this thing, and
Mhm.
then you get into the studio one morning and see the pot made yesterday. Oh, crack! Great, go again.
There you go.
Send customer a message and say, look, I'm sorry your pot cracked. I'm going to have to do it again.
Yeah.
And the same when firing the pots. Yeah, there is some failure rate. Sometimes things will crack or warp in the kiln, and yeah, they just have to be made again. And it used to really get to me, but now I just sort of accept it as being part of the process.
Sure.
And most of the time, it's fine. There's really low um, rate of that happening, and it's fine. But yeah, occasionally in really hot weather here, you get two things in a row crack, and you think, what am I doing? I'm going to go play golf instead. This is horribly stressful.
Let's go try to hit a ball in a hole for a while.
Yeah.
Reset. I love it. Is there a kind of tree that fits in your pots better than others, or are your trees kind of like free game for anything? Because we can put anything into a bonsai pot and call it a bonsai. Are there some that really lend better for your style, do you think, or is it pretty wide open for you? Because I think your pots could put almost anything in.
Yeah, there's lots of different trees will suit my pots. I think um, anybody doing bonsai or pinching, you
Hmm.
really just need to understand the stylistic differences. I've done demonstrations before at our bonsai club about that stylistic differences. Whether you're looking at Japanese bonsai that is emulating what's being done in Japan,
Hmm.
or my very much penjing style tree here.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether we're after that aesthetic, the Chinese penjing aesthetic, or you're looking at what's happening in other parts of Asia or Europe or in Australia. We do, um, people have to recognize we do have different styles around the world,
Yeah.
and you need to understand what your own style is that you're chasing
Yeah.
and go after that. I would argue that I have created my own style in trees and pots. But
Hmm.
there's obviously some influences, conscious or unconscious, from Japan and China and lots of different places that have filtered into what I'm doing. Yeah, the pots that I'm making are suitable for a range of trees, but just as all those different styles of trees are different and these pots are different, it's about understanding what those stylistic differences are and
Hmm.
keeping them together. So, why would you, for example, let's say you have a Japanese black pine and
Yeah.
it's been styled as a highly refined looking Japanese style bonsai.
Yeah.
Why would you put that into one of my rather Australian looking pots with this kind of burnt looking edge on it? It wouldn't suit. The two wouldn't suit each other. If you've got
Sure.
a traditional looking Japanese bonsai, you probably just stick with a traditional looking Japanese pot.
Sure.
But if you are after something different, like I see trees being made in the US and parts of Europe and here in Australia, people actually are chasing their own style, then
Yeah.
fine. Have a pot that is different, that recognizes that difference in the tree. Match the two together. Yeah.
How are you firing your pots? And are they? We call it Minnesota hardy actually here, or is it cold hardy? Are your pots gonna stand up all across the country and all across the globe?
Had enough of these pots out there in the world now that if there was going to be some catastrophic failure, we would have seen it by now.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
The making and firing process. So the clay that I use is a manufactured clay body. So that means it's not just clay that's been dug out of the ground. It's a clay that has been made from different clays from lots of different sites and all blended together to make this uniform
Okay.
clay body.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they call a stoneware clay body, so it's capable of being fired to stoneware temperatures. So we're getting up towards 1300 degrees Celsius. And what that does is that makes a clay body or a pot that they'd call vitrified. So rather than this just being a bunch of clay particles all stuck together, this thing is actually vitreous, like a sheet of glass,
Okay.
basically. It's impervious to water. So what can happen with, say, earthenware pots like terracotta?
Mm-hmm.
They're porous, they can
Yep.
soak up some water,
Yep.
and then that water, when it freezes, expands and the pot would delaminate or crack or something. So
Yep.
it's about the ability of the pot to be porous or not. So these pots, while they're not fully vitrified, they will absorb some small amount of water, but not
Mm-hmm.
enough for them to be um, cracking in freezing weather, basically. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's earthenware pots that absorb water that you would have trouble with in that climate. So what's usually referred to as high-fired or stoneware pots, you'd need to use in that climate.
Do you travel a little bit? Do you put your pots in shows at all? I'm going to be heading to the U.S. Nationals coming September for my first time. But do you have your pots set up in some shows around the world or the country?
Obviously, I have pots for sale here in my studio here in Adelaide, and our annual show that we put on every October. There'll be pots for sale there, and I guess people can buy them from, all around the world through the Facebook page, Adelaide Bonsai Pottery.
Yep.
But in terms of having them in exhibitions, I guess probably the best example is our National Bonsai and Pension Collection of Australia in Canberra. So I don't know if you're aware of our national collection, but it's a pretty, I'll get a plug in for that one. It's a pretty amazing facility.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of bonsai and penching there on display. And most of those are from growers around Australia. And there's a process we select which trees are going to be on display in Canberra there. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is actually one I ash tree here, this Chinese Penjing style tree. This has actually just come back from Canberra, a
Stunning.
2,500-kilometre round trip to take this tree from Adelaide to Canberra and
Wow.
back again. Yeah, so it's been
Nice.
in Canberra for 3 years, and so I've just brought this one back from the National Collection and taken 6 more trees over there, 4 of which are in pots that I've made. So that's kind of my claim to fame here in Australia is
Yeah.
we have a bonsai pot competition
Yeah.
at the National Collection every year. A few years ago, I managed to win first prize, and the pot is for a particular tree. So the tree that is in the permanent collection in the National Collection there is in a pot that I've designed and made for it.
Oh,
So
that's
I
awesome.
now have that pot in the permanent collection of the National Bonsai Collection. So that's a nice feeling.
Yeah. Fantastic. Congrats.
Yeah, in backyards all around the world now, I guess. It's great that there might be the occasional bonsai professional that uses my pots, but most of us aren't bonsai professionals. We're just people in our own backyards having fun. And yeah, those are the people that I actually like to look after, is because that is the majority of people doing bonsai around the world. We're not all running bonsai nurseries. We're just in our backyards having fun. Yeah.
About how long does it take your pots to get overseas? You said to me like 5 to 9 business days. That seems pretty fast.
Yeah, not long. Yeah, within Australia, a few days. Yeah, it's not really all that long. I've had some pots go to Greece recently, which took a little while, like a few weeks.
Okay.
But yeah, given the distances involved, yeah, it's really not that long. I think the estimate for the pots that are heading your way was yeah, 5 to 9 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world is a small place, really.
I get to go see who's become a dear friend of mine, Sarah Rayner from my backyard, basically. So Sarah Rayner, if you're not familiar with her,
Mhm.
pots out of Red Wing, Minnesota. She's 45 minutes down the road from me, and I get to go see her tomorrow. So I'm talking to you today
Mm.
in Australia, and I'm talking to her tomorrow in her backyard. And I love her point of view with pots, and she goes, if you're looking at a pot and you're even remotely unsure, she says, don't buy one right now. She almost doesn't want to sell you one right now. She's really all about, find that pot that's going to be right for the tree and right for you. And if it's not right now, bye, see you later. She doesn't want to force it. I just love her humble, we don't need to do this right now. What's your take on that?
Mm. Yeah, I'm probably not the world's best salesperson in that respect, and that I'm not just after a sale. I'd rather have the right pot for the right tree. I guess if I was just after a sale, I'd just buy a container load of pots from China and sell those. It'd be a whole lot easier than trying to make these pots. Um, so yeah, it is about finding the right pot for the right tree. And for a lot of people, I think that is difficult. We don't. What are we looking for? So I do a lot of that. Just talking through. Well, let's have a look at your tree. Send me a photo of your tree. Let's have a look at the colours present in the tree, the textures in the tree, and see what we can make. So I've got a little fig tree here at root over rock style. I make lots of root over rock style trees, and
Very nice.
so this is a good example, I think, of where I've had a look at the colours present in the tree and in that composition. So the pale colour of the tree's trunk and roots, and the sort of dark brown colour of the stone that it's on,
Yeah.
and chosen some similar colours for the pot. So there's the dark brown clay body of the pot, similar
Hmm.
sort of tone to the stone, and the pale cream coloured glaze, similar sort of tone and colour to the tree's trunk and roots. So not exactly the same colours, but
Right.
similar colours. So that's one way of having a look at what's actually present in the tree, colours and textures, as a
Yeah.
guide for what colours and textures to use in the pot. I've told the story a few times at bonsai club meetings here, where I had one of these fig trees, bright green leaves. It was growing on this quite sort of reddish coloured stone,
Okay.
and I'm looking around for a pot. It was a pot I'd made that had this really nice blue glaze, like quite bright blue glaze. And I've got this tree with its green leaves and its red stone into this bright blue pot, and it was just instantly, oh my God, what's this kaleidoscope of colour that I hadn't realised until I got the tree in the pot,
Yeah.
because there were too many different colours and too many sort of primary colours, I think, there, and
Sure.
the blue colours in the pot, a colour that wasn't present there in the tree, and it was just way too many colours for your eyes to take in. It was immediately obvious once I got
Sure.
that tree into that pot. So sometimes, what you think is going to be a good match ends up not being a good match, and you could try again. But yeah, I think if you can look at, what's the tree actually doing? Yeah, have a look at all the colours and textures present in the tree as a guide for what to do with the pot. Yeah.
One of my favorite trees is the larch tree. And the deciduous conifer larch that turns a beautiful golden color in the fall and loses all its leaves. you've got a tree that's bright green in the early spring, dark green when it hardens off, golden color in the fall, and then it's a silhouette in the winter.
Mm.
What kind of pot, what kind of pot would you recommend for that? Where would you go with that tree if you've done it before, or what do you think is the best pot for that one?
Well, I guess you've got to look at what might be the same in that tree. I'm guessing that tree is going to have the same coloured trunk colour all
Yeah,
year, so the leaves might be different, but the trunk colour is going to be the same.
right.
There's probably some sort of grey, colours present in that tree. That yeah, maybe that's the colour to.
There's your larch right there.
Mm. So if you have a look at that tree and that pot, I think what's going on is that the pot seems quite visually heavy, not physically heavy, but visually heavy
Yep.
because of the dark brown color of the pot. The tree seems lighter
Yeah.
than the pot does. And you could say, well, that's great. It makes the whole thing feel grounded.
Yeah.
But I can't help but wonder that a pot that had some gray tones similar to the color in the trunk would
Yep.
actually suit that pot better. That one that would feel a bit visually lighter.
Yeah. I like that. I don't remember why I picked this pot. Maybe it's the only one I had.
Well, that's usually what we do, isn't it? We're
Well, it
desperate to
is.
get a tree into a pot because that's what a bonsai is. And we
Yeah.
look around the backyard, look on the benches. Oh, there's a pot that looks about the right size. That will do.
That's all
And
we do.
yeah,
So,
and I've been guilty of that many times too. But yeah, I think if you can slow that process down, and most people we don't have those discussions. What is the visual weight of this pot? Is it visually heavy? Is it visually light? The same sort of process that we go through looking at the trees. Is it masculine or feminine? Is it formal or informal? The
yep.
same can apply to your pots.
Yeah,
And
for
yeah,
sure.
I guess realistically, you go to your bonsai nursery and they'll have some unglazed pots and some glazed pots, some
Yeah.
bigger, some smaller, and there is your decision process. You're sort of forced to be limited to what's available.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so you have to just take what's off the shelf because that's what's there.
Yeah.
But with the process of making a pot like this, well, it's infinite. I can vary the texture and color, and glaze and form and everything almost infinitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, then it's the opposite problem. I have
Sure.
so many choices now. How do I narrow it down? What pot's actually going to be suitable for my tree?
Sure.
Yeah, but it's a good problem to have.
For sure. Well, I've already been thinking in our time together, been thinking about a pot I'd love to commission to you someday. I won't get into details today, but I have a concept of a tree that it's a kind of a penjing foresty type thing that I'll run by you in the future, and we can talk about that and what might happen. So I'm cruising through Facebook and I see this with a cat and the expression "cat in an olive tree." Explain that pot to me. Like, where did that come from?
So in the Adelaide Hills, we have, wow, that's heavy. Yeah, we have many feral olive trees. So these things just grow as weeds
Really?
in the Adelaide Hills, and we get around and dig them up, and they make fantastic free bonsai.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess the same process with with this tree. What are the colours and textures sort of present in the trunk, and
Yep.
can we use that as a guide for the colours to use in the pot? So yeah, we've got these similar sort of grey tones
Yeah.
in the pot as we do the trunk.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And yeah, we've dug these from the Adelaide Hills, and there's some sort of stony outcrops there.
Yeah.
I guess might have influenced the shape of that pot going on there.
For sure.
So
Beautiful. Oh,
yeah, you've got to open your eyes a bit. I think have a look around to see
yeah.
what's actually in the environment where the tree is growing. Whether that's a a real environment or an imagined environment. So it might be, where you've collected this tree, what was actually present in that environment, can that influence the style of the pot, or it might be an imagined environment. So,
Well, that's about all I have for you tonight. I certainly appreciate your time. Is there anything else you'd like to add about what you do and where you're at? And again, people can find you on Facebook, but anything I left out or any other comments or yeah, you got anything?
yeah, I think you've got a bit about me and a bit about the process of making these pots, and yeah, the whole process of people ordering pots. Yeah, I guess it'd just be have a go, and if you're not sure, ask me. We've gone through this process of Q&A on how would you match a tree to a pot, and that's essentially what I'm doing with my customers too. Not everybody is sure what they want, but yeah, you shoot me a message on Facebook to the Adelaide Bonsai Pottery Facebook page, and send me a photo of your tree, and we'll have a chat. You're not obligated to buy a pot. Just send me a photo, and we'll have a chat. I'll draw some sketches. I'll draw some designs. I quite enjoy that. It's quite good fun doing that. Nobody's obliged to buy a pot from me just because I've drawn them a design.
I talk a lot about the journey of bonsai, and what I've appreciated more in the last couple of years is the people I've met. So it's been a pleasure to meet you over the old internet. I'd love to see you face to face someday in the future. It'd be fantastic. And now what I love the most is that I'm going to have a bonsai at some point that has a story because it's going to be in one of your pots, and someone that I got to chat with, got to connect with about bonsai. And I love trees that have a story. So thanks for sharing your story and let me be part of that story. And I hope we can get together again soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to seeing what trees you put in those pots, and yeah, be sure to send me some photos, and I can share them on the Facebook page. And yeah, people in the Australian bonsai community here, because yeah, I really do believe there is an Australian bonsai community, and yeah, and perhaps world bonsai community too. Everybody can see that, and
Fantastic.
yeah, we'll share in the fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple people that watch my YouTube channel from Australia. So I know one of them, his name is Brian. I can't remember his last name, but hopefully Brian is going to be knocking on your door someday soon because he knows I'm talking. All right, man. You take care. And again, we'll talk soon.
Yeah, all righty. Thanks, David.
Welcome to Bonsai Acres.